Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 86 of Run to the Hills podcast, sponsored by Chia Charge. Chia Charge have been fueling adventures with real food made with real ingredients since 2012. Go check them out at www.chiacharge.co.uk. I've got nothing to say of any positivity this week, everybody. So if you're looking for uplifting, scroll on, my friends. So I'm going to let Gary talk and I'm going to whine. Hi, Gary. What's up?
Hi there. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? You just talk. I'm going to cry.
Oh, okay, me too. Well, I have been. Someone was really super positive to me, actually. I was running the Castle Dean and somebody said, "You've got really strong legs."
Was it a lady?
It was a lady. I think because I was actually running up a hill. I think it wasn't they looked physically strong. It was the fact I was running up a hill, which I thought was, if anybody ever says anything like that, it kind of brings me back to a memory when I must have been about 18 in a doctor's surgery with my trousers around my ankles.
Gary.
Yeah, he commented. He commented what strong legs. He said I had powerful legs, which is
Turns out I had a big. While you're in the doctor's surgery with the trousers on your ankles, and he's like,
I've got a baker's cyst. So that's why I was there. I wonder what this big lump on the back of my knee was. And he said that, yeah, you've got really powerful legs. And then this lady said I had strong legs, which just made my day. It's nice when you get a little random comment like that. But they don't feel so strong now. I've had 3. So Friday I did must have been the best part, 4,000 feet elevation, or Saturday, sorry. And then Sunday I did about 3,000 feet. And then yesterday I went off and did about 7,000 feet. So about a big 3 days. So I am pooped. And I left the house I got up at 5, left at 6, and then got in at 9:30 last night. So I was absolutely trashed. Filming and running around. And what I've done, which I thought is quite a good way, because I always when I go to the lakes, I spend my time filming, and I've said this quite a few times, I don't feel like they're training sessions. They're just, they are long times out on the fells. So what I've done now, normally I'd film a loop back to the car. So the whole journey was just very slow. So what I've done now, say, yesterday I went from Mardale to Kentmere Pike, and then I filmed that as the virtual run. But then I just ran back to Mardale without doing anything. So good quad prep. And I did 2 runs yesterday like that. So yeah, I got something out of it as far as the workout's concerned. And I did a lot of YouTube filming too. So that was good. What else has happened to me? I've been buying children's clothes again, which is always good. 13-year-old boys shorts.
Oh, it's endless, isn't it?
I thought it was. I'm not going to save the brand in case they listen to the podcast and sack off the kids, make their kids' clothes a bit smaller, because I get some right bargains on out of JD Sports. And I had a lovely. You probably the same. If you ever get a bit of time with Bryn, just a couple of hours, a little stroll around and a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, it's just magic,
isn't it? It's magic, isn't it? You can just sit like the old couple that you used to watch, that you go, you don't say anything to each other.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that's us now. We just sit, cup of tea, pot of tea, even better. A cuppa in Durham.
Oh, Nero, because I'm with this Vitality life insurance, and we get free coffee every week if we're active. So not only do we have some time together, we went after 2 o'clock, so we got free parking and we got free coffee.
Oh, so you're such a northerner. And good training. Good. So good training.
Talk about training. Yeah. So good, solid. First week for Lakeland 100. So we did about 70 miles in total, which was good. Loads of, the elevation probably about 10,000 feet. I did 2 sessions. I did the fartlek and I did a threshold run. But what I have started doing, because previously I'd be always going for the flats, and then when I got to cross country, I think I was crying about it last year that I didn't feel strong on the climb. So I'm doing my threshold run down in the nature reserve, so it's a bit more rolling. So hopefully that will give me a bit more uphill speed. Did my strength and conditioning. So yeah, and I'm not even going to mention it. So moving on from...
No, we're not going to mention it. I'm not going to ask about it. I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to mention it. I've got to move on at some point. Because I'm about to whine. I'm about to whine for about 15 minutes. So
Yeah. Well, I have to say, all in all, that's a pretty good first week.
excellent week. I mean, that'd be my peak week, that amount of stuff. And
Well, I looked at
you've gone from nothing to that.
Yeah. Where do you go from that? It's like it was 22 hours of exercise, all in all, I think. So yeah, it's quite high bar. But it's funny. The hours of exercise are skewed by when I'm doing these virtual runs and the filming. I think if I was just there running, I probably could do that whole thing. What I did yesterday, I'd probably do 4 hours quicker. If I literally, the miles turn from a 15-20 minute mile into a 40-minute mile. It is quite painful. So that's why I go on my own, because it would just be rubbish for anybody else. But yeah, it's a good week. And I stress about the time, but then we listen to say Steve Birkinshaw, and he's like, yeah, you just have big long days out for 8 hours with the family, walking around the field. So I don't think it's a complete waste of time.
Not at all. Never a waste of time. Been outside on your feet, hours, they all count, and they make you feel good.
Yeah, but I was shattered. I am shattered, sorry. But yeah, all in all, pretty good. Go on then. You're going to bring me down now. Rolling on.
No, I'm fine. I just can't do what I want to do, which is frustrating. Yeah. So I got dipped back into the running community last week I thought, right, okay, let's see. It was feeling much better. Let's try some jogging. But it just progressively got angrier at me rather than carry on getting better. So I had to go this, it's so annoying, Gary, because there's no it's just this tendon is just not happy. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just shouting at me. So it's not like I've pulled a hamstring or something where, either you can't run or I can actually run, but it just really hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts to bend. It's all right on the road. It's all right doing some stuff, but then, and it's okay. I did a couple of hours running with my spine backpack with some mates. It was okay, but anything super over 10%, I had to walk, and I just got to the point where I was like, this is not fun, because
it doesn't improve as you're doing the exercise. It doesn't get any better.
No. So, it's not like an injury where, the first 5-10 minutes, like Brody would say, and then it goes. So I was really listening to it, and I was running, and I was like, it's still in my head all the time. When I have a niggle and it goes away and I forget about it during the run, and then it might be sore again afterwards, I'm like, that's okay. It's when it hurts and it gets a bit depressing. People will know this, that you're running and it's hurting all the time.
Yeah.
And where I live, it's not like I'm running along a canal path. I cannot get it. I cannot be running, this 40% climb. I don't want to go up there, and I can't, because anyway. So
it's like a kind of negative noise, isn't it, in your head that you don't need.
It's just so I've just said, okay, right, let's just get rid of the running. It's just not happening. It's too sore. It's not getting better. It's just going to prolong. So I will focus on what I can do. I can bike with no pain. So back to Zwift. Last week I sort of bimbled around, ignoring my plan, trying to run, trying to do Zwift, trying to combine, trying. And nothing really was working. I wasn't doing anything properly. So this week I'm on strict training plan, moving my running sessions into bike sessions. So also I think it really helps with the positivity, because I feel like I'm that session's got a point, and then I've got a recovery day. So I kind of keep my same session. So I've just done 10 by 4 minutes on the bike. It wasn't so, and also I've been told, this is when having somebody to tell me rather than, which is what I do to people all day, but I'm not very good at telling myself, because I'm always on the mentality that I need to go harder for everything. To just dial it down slightly on the bike. I don't need everything, because you can't chase the fitness. You've just got to slightly keep a slight control on your training when you're injured as well, so that you're not just. So I've just done 10 by 4 minutes, which was more of a mental and I just kept it slightly 10, a heart rate 10 beats lower than what it would have been running, so it is a fair match, rather than trying to match the heart rate, which on the bike, if you try and match your running heart rate, it's too much on the legs.
I can't get near it. I can't move my legs fast enough to get the heart rate the same.
Exactly. I'm just going to end up injuring myself. I'm very, very lucky in that I did 10 years on a turbo and on a bike triathlon training. So getting back into, I can work really hard. I know my levels. I can work really hard. I'm really comfortable on the bike.
Yeah.
Apart from my old bum today was a bit sore getting back on, but
It's hard again.
I'm just focusing. Yeah. Really battling that inner demon in my head that's going, that summer spine challenger is going further and further away. And I'm like, no, okay, focus on what I can do. I can do the bike. I can do nearly all of my strength work. Some of the single leg work is a bit tricky on the dodgy ankle, but so I can still do that. And I jumped in a strength class last week with some mates to kind of lift the mental mood a little bit. So I'm just doing a few things like that. And I also, I cleared out the house. 19 black bin bags of stuff out my house.
That's impressive.
15 of which went to the Ukrainian. We've got lots of Ukrainian families coming to live in the valley.
Yeah.
And so they haven't got anything, Gary. They have got nothing. They've literally left Ukraine with nothing. So sorted out all the like kids' thermals and coats and stuff, did all that, and I'd also sorted out. So I did something positive out of my malaise, as I call it, instead of just going, I can't do anything. That little bit of extra energy that normally I wouldn't have from running. I can't possibly fold clothes. I'm far too tired. And I'm just really trying to focus on what I can do. And it is feeling so much better. The not running does make it feel better. And in some ways that's quite a relief, because I hate being in pain with the kids as well, when they're like, can we do this? And I'm like, I can't even like walk around with you without limping a bit. So I'm really trying to focus on what I can do. The bike, as you know, is great. And I'm just not thinking about June. And if I turn up to the start line half cooked, and Eddie half cooked is still pretty solid pie. The crust might not be done, but the filling.
I've heard this so many times that if you come up there, being half cooked is better than 1% overcooked. I'm
more worried about starting that sort of race with an injury. So I prefer to start it just lightly baked and no injury, because I will then have a great time. I might be slow. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter. And I'll enjoy the day than, getting to 50 miles and having to call in Gary support going, the ankle's gone. Nobody wants that. What rubbish content for the podcast.
Can you imagine that the first time we ever meet? It's like
me weeping and you having to go, I'm going to bring Lisa because she's crying.
I'm not very good in these situations.
Not good, Lisa. You're gonna. So I'm absolutely sure it will be. If it's not better by then, I'm actually going to just cut the leg off. So I'm kind of thinking I prefer to get there, strong. There's, strong enough to carry my backpack and get round it, than getting there still niggled, not having handled it very well, because I twittered on about this, about how handling an injury is as important as a runner, how you handle it. And I get so annoyed at people.
No, I heard it all for weeks.
And I'm annoying myself. So stop it, Eddie. Get focused.
Good.
And thank you to Swift, because honestly, God, what a lifesaver to be able to cross-train.
Anybody who's listening, and if they have the means to buy some form of cross-train, it doesn't have to be a bike, it could be a rower. I don't know whatever people's things are, but both of us have leaned on it heavily.
There must be loads on eBay right now with people selling off what bikes and all sorts of things.
I wonder what the deal is.
It's not I think as a runner, we think, we're going to buy that and never use it. But actually, as a runner, we especially an older runner, you have to embrace cross-training. And you will use it if you can put it into your plan. It's not like it's going to sit there as a clothes horse. And if it does, you need to get those clothes off and just put a little bit of cross-training.
Mine's a sweaty towel. I got a complaint from my order.
I had to, today, I double chamois often, double chamois sessions. No way. Today was no way. That is going in, not even going into the laundry bin because it's so disgusting. It needs to go into the washing machine. Anyway, this is a journey. This is our running journey. And we're always truthful on this podcast, right? People have been actually doing proper running, not running around with GoPros or sitting on an indoor bike.
Hey.
What have we got? Tell us about the Cowshed Backyard Ultra, because you're well proud of your trophy.
I think that's what made them keep getting up and doing another lap, because they saw the trophy on social media and they wanted
it bad. I contemplated booking a flight over. I saw that trophy and thought,
it was because I had lots of friends doing it, and it just kept they did a really good job of sharing on social media. It was them officially, or friends of mine were sharing stuff. But so I was aware of now there's 10 people starting the lap, and there was 6, and it was brilliant watching it all count down. But yeah, Sarah Perry again did it. It's the second one. I think she went down to Wales once and won a backyard ultra down there.
She only did about 85 miles, didn't she? And she was a bit miffed that the guys had stopped.
So there's a bit more competition this time. I think it was down to her and Paul Wilson, who's the Bob Graham Round secretary, chairman, whichever one is. So yeah, I know Paul Wilson, and I'm not too sure what happened with Paul, why he called it a day, if he was just shattered or he had an injury or something like that. But
to get home, the wife was like, "Look, this trip is absolutely as dry as anything. You don't get
work on Tuesday." It's not half term. But yeah, Sarah Perry just again did it, so smashed it. Well done.
How
Sarah.
many miles? How many hours? Miles? Was it 33 hours?
Oh my goodness me! It was a 33 yards. They went out again. I don't want to give misinformation. I don't know, but
138 miles. I think they did 33 yards.
Yeah, I think it would be wicked if maybe someone's kind of planning this. I know with the Centurion Track 100, James was conscious of trying to get the best of the best over. If they could do something like this.
Well, they did a home counties one over in Ireland, didn't they? But again, you have to almost, I think you'd get people to sign contracts saying, I will stay in and push. It's very hard to get those people in that shape, prepared to go for a week, basically, isn't
basically,
it?
Yeah. The people who've got the world records for it. But yeah, I would just love to see them all come together and have a real serious crack at it. It'd be pretty fantastic. But also
you
from
organise it in Wingate, the Wingate Backyard Ultra from your house.
From an event organiser's point of view, there's only, because they are a business. So if you say charge whatever it is to do it, but then you've got 2 people running all week, it's like, oh bloody hell, I've run out of money for this, my inflatable gazebo or whatever it is.
It's
got to be back on Wednesday.
Needed generator. We also had the 100-mile River Air Ultra. Billy Price won this in 24 hours 11 minutes, and Nicola Forward 27:57. Gary spotted her on social media saying it's her first 100-miler and she'd only entered it the week before. Not something that we recommend on this podcast, but
I think she reached out on some ultra running forum asking for advice. Got an ultra in 7 days.
I mean, you don't have to suffer any taper anxiety. You don't have to follow any plan. You can just step in. Awesome, I bet she's got some stiff legs today. I also really enjoyed everybody out on the trails doing recce's. The weather looked amazing in the UK over the bank holiday.
The day I was out, I was absolutely freezing. But yeah, I remember from about 11 o'clock onwards, it was fine. But yeah, Friday, Saturday, and looks lovely today. But Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You can't have it all. That would be very an un-British bank holiday weekend if the weather was good for the whole weekend. But loads of people doing recce's for exciting races coming up, which was cool to see for my turbo. This week, we were delighted and privileged to have Mickey Turner on the podcast. Mickey is a former Marine Commando, firefighter, Exeter City and Exeter Chiefs coach, and now mental health mentor. In December last year, Mickey and friends rode 3,000 miles across the Atlantic for various mental health charities. They set off aiming for world record time, which was 33 days, but were struck with some pretty hairy adventures on the way, which we will let Mickey tell you all about. Mickey is only just back from this journey when we sat him down for this interview, so we're really grateful for him, for his honesty and also his rawness. It's quite emotional in places. So here it is. Prepare yourself, everybody. What a guy. This is going to change your life, listening to Mickey, our chat with Mickey Turner.
Today we're really lucky to be joined by Mickey Turner. Now, it's just funny how things happen, Eddie. I got a message from, I think it was Mickey's daughter-in-law, to make you a plaque for a challenge which I don't think you'd actually quite finished at the time. It was that day. And then you just, this is the wonderful thing about the podcast, and even my little sideline making the medal displays, that you never know who you're going to meet, what stories you're going to be exposed to. And just amazing people that you come across. And that's why we've got Mickey Turner on the podcast today. But our first question that we ask all our guests, and it doesn't have to be running, but where are you? How are you? And have you been for a run today, Mickey?
Right. Oh, God, yeah. Right. So I'm down in Devon, just outside Exeter, a little village called Exminster. It's not so little these days. It's gradually getting bigger, like most places now, with developments and things. But it still is like a village. No, I haven't been for a run today, unfortunately. I trained last night. I mean, running days, I used to love running as well, obviously with my Royal Marine background and my fire service background. But unfortunately, I've gone through a knee replacement when I was 40. You obviously changed me massively in regards to me running, albeit I didn't stop running. So within 2 years, I got rid of that knee and had a second knee replacement. And so I'm now on 2 knees at 42 years old, which is really young. And then guess what? I still didn't stop running. And I managed to keep...
Mickey, I love you already.
I managed to keep this one a little bit longer, but not too much longer. Before I was 50, I was on my 3rd knee.
Oh, wow.
Were you on like first name terms with the surgeon? The name surgeon going, now do you understand? Stop.
So my surgeon said to us, now you like this one because this links to our row. My surgeon says to us, Mick, look, I want you to take something up different from running. Just moderate do something different. Go and play golf. Go and do something like this, whatever. You won't believe what happened. My son was on leave from the Royal Marines. And he says, should we go for a game of golf, Dad? That'll be good. So my surgeon's always saying, take something up a bit less strenuous. Gets worse. Ball goes over the 7th tee at my local golf club, and I went to jump across a stream that I'd done hundreds of times, double foot landing on the other side, all the things correct. Landed on the other side, almighty explosion. Thought I'd snapped my ankle. He come running round like, oh my God, expecting to see a fib and tib out because it was that loud. Said, give us a few minutes, and then I ended up sort of getting back on my feet, bit sore, and tried to carry on. And I just, son, this is really bad. So I hobbled back to the clubhouse and said to her, I've hurt my leg. Can I borrow a buggy to go and finish the round off? So I take a buggy. So I drive down to join my son again. Anyway, long and short of it, we finished, and I limped into the clubhouse afterwards and got home, and I did a little test on the back of my calf. I snapped my Achilles tendon.
Oh, good.
Now, what I didn't tell you, I think there was a build-up to this, because while I was on holiday in Turkey, I ran every day, and I found a couple of nice hilly routes, and every day I ran. Come towards the latter part of me holiday, I was starting to feel the backs of my Achilles hurting running up these. They weren't small hills, they were hills. They were good hills, as you can imagine. And the Royal Marine in me wanted to get quicker up these hills by the end of the trip. So I think I've done the damage on holiday, and the golf jump wasn't an actual. But then I saw the surgeon, and I said, you know what you said about stopping running? I said, well, that's not work. I said, took up golf and I've snapped my Achilles tendon.
I don't mean to laugh.
The other thing with that is, then I've gone and decided I'm going to row the Atlantic Ocean, haven't I? And I think I've probably worn it out. So I'm back in to see. I spoke to the doctor. I went to see the doctor a couple of weeks ago, and I'm back on the surgeon's list to go and see him, because I think it's gone. So I might be on. I might be on number 4.
They'll sort you out. They'll find.
Fingers crossed. We've had lots of knees and Achilles chats on this.
I bet, because of the running stuff, and I can imagine that. Yeah. So
when you were saying your golf story, I could just visualize ultra runners mid-race trying to jump a kind of stream or something, and then just it seems like that happens quite often. I remember doing the Tour de Helvellyn and just thought, I'll just jump that little beck, and then before I know it, my calf was screaming. Just.
No, I mean, that's what it is, isn't it? It's them things, and I love that mountain, Helvellyn, mind.
Yeah, it's pretty special. You've been up there a few times, my goodness.
Yeah, I do. I love that mountain. really.
But our listeners will see here, sorry, that you've not got that you have got a northeast accent. Which part of the northeast you from, Mickey?
Well, I'm black and white, really. I'm not the red and white part of the northeast. I'm black and white, but
I'm pleased about that because I find the red and white quite scary.
As I just shown you with Scooby with his black and white neckerchief on, and I've got me Newcastle colours on, but I'll have to show you. I have got my colours on. Look.
Yes.
How do you feel though with the Exeter though? You have to wear the red and white quite often.
No, but you know what? I don't.
Always underneath. It's underneath. You wear your like work coat, but underneath.
Luckily, the players have to wear red. We us coaching staff, we in blue.
Oh,
So I don't have to wear red and white. So I'm lucky. But so I ended up living in Durham, and I'm a Durham lad. So me mum and dad settled in Shildon. That's where I sort of spent me childhood. Really, growing up was in Shildon, which at the time was a big railway town and made all the hoppers for the national railway. And at the time was the only place in British Rail that was making a profit. And I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I didn't know.
And it was the only company in British Rail that was making a profit, and it was the only place that they shut down.
Crazy.
oh.
And in the drop of a hat, the town had 9,500 people work down at Shildon shops, and in a drop of a hat, they all lost their jobs.
Oh my goodness! They probably didn't replace them with skilled labour either. Did they? Skilled jobs.
No. And it's tragic. Now, at the same time with that one, I was just about to, or I'd just left home a couple of years before that to join the Royal Marines. But I know you're going to ask me something on that, so I won't go on to that.
Yeah, well, no, carry on. Tell us a little bit about, well, if you don't mind, like going right from, the little story about how you joined up the Marines and then how you became the sort of steps of the firefighter and then where you are today. Yeah, you talk, we'll listen.
Okay.
We love it.
So I was just saying before we started the podcast, Dwayne and Gary, about I had a choice. I think as we all did in the northeast, of growing up, it was either you were going to go on the railways, on the shipyard, or down the pit. And my family were heavily mining stock, so it looked like I probably was going to end up down the pit. And I was in a careers lesson, and I was all right at school, but I was a bright lad, but I just teetered on the edge of being mischievous.
That is how that's exactly how I want my kids to be. I'm like, you get out of school, but school's not everything. Yeah, that spark.
But a lovable mischievous.
Yeah.
I was a good footballer. I played for the school team. I played for the district. I played for the county. So I was a canny little footballer, and so I was fit and I loved running. And there was on the top of the shelf, it had a cammed out face and a green beret that I didn't realise was a green beret at the time, but a green beret. And it said what it takes to be a Royal Marine. So I picked it up and started looking, and the first page, really smart. And it said, like, could you do these things? I'm thinking, God, yeah, I wouldn't mind a go at that. And next thing, I'm in the careers office. And that's where the journey started. And then went to Livingston on the potential Royal Marines course and got a really good grade, and ended up within months, if not weeks, leaving the Northeast to join the Commando Training Centre at Livingston, which actually, from my bedroom window, if I look across, I can actually see
Amazing.
I can see the camp. And on a Saturday morning, if the wind's blowing the right way,
You hear it?
and the lads are doing their commando tests, which they do every fortnight, I can hear them firing their 10 shots at the target on the end of their endurance course. Yeah. So every fortnight, where it's I think it's a month at the minute, because they've had a reduction in troops coming in. Okay. But I'll talk a bit more about that because my son's a serving Royal Marine now.
So what did your mum and dad think about that?
Right. Well, I've lost both my mum and dad. I lost my mum quite young, or she was quite young, and my dad about 4 years ago now. I think 4 or 5 years ago, and he never ever said he was proud of me. But when I did his tribute and his funeral, our Sam couldn't go, but we had the corps flag and our Sam's peak cap and his sword on the coffin. Anyway, long and short of it, when I'm jumping ahead, but our Sam joined as a Marine and then got a commission and went through training again, hence the sword. But my dad gave him some money to buy his sword.
Oh, okay.
And I can send a picture of his sword because it's engraved with something that's really powerful and passionate to me.
Yeah.
Gary, you've seen this on your emails, United We Conquer.
Yes, yeah.
There's a reason for that, which will come prevalent because I'll send you the photo and you can put it and do it, like you said, let everyone know what it's about. When I went outside, everyone said, do you know what, Michael? You said he never ever said he was proud of you. But my God, he told everybody else.
I think that may be a Northeast man of a certain generation.
So I think he didn't say it, but I know they were both immensely proud.
Yeah.
This young lad that was a bit mischievous that went off as a boy and became back a man. That's where that bit. The interesting thing is that I went to a fathers and sons function, the officers' mess with our Sam.
Yeah.
When he was coming towards the end of his officer training, and there's a pictures of it in my mess dress from the fire service and him in his mess dress. I'd sent it to me dad, and he told everybody how proud he was of these two men on this picture.
Yeah.
And it was me and our Sam. So, in answer to the question, Ed, yes, they were very proud of me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you joined the Marines, and then how long were you in the Marines for?
Right, so I spent 10 years in the Marines, and then in amongst that, I always liked helping people. I'd fought a couple of times. I liked helping people. At a young age, I was a team medic in the section, and I liked that. I liked that bit of hands-on. You know, I wasn't fighting to getting my hands dirty and getting stuck into bits and pieces. So I decided that, you know, the fire service was something similar, something that I could maybe try and have another career in, and luckily I managed to come out of one and jump in straight into the other one. So I was lucky, and then I joined the Devon Fire and Rescue Service, which it was at the time, which is now Devon and Somerset Fire and Rescue Service. But I joined Devon Fire Service, and then that started another journey, which, you know, like we was just saying, is carried on. In amongst this, I've been keen with football, and I joined not long after I joined the fire service. I think it was about 1996. I got offered a chance to join Exeter City Football Club as a coach. On my time that I had spare, I did a bit of coaching for Exeter City Football Club, and I've been there ever since.
Your role has changed slightly, hasn't it? You're now less on the coaching side, is that right? And you're more of a mentor now.
Yeah. So I'd done everything at the football club, from like tiny tots all the way to a program with the fire service in regards to futsal, and fire education, going out to secondary schools and delivering futsal to students, but then giving them fire education, and then passing that education on them to go and then pass on to their mums and dads. So it was just like but that bit fit in with my job as a community officer, because obviously when I said about my knee, I had to come off the fire engines to fly a desk, which I didn't really like that much.
No, I can imagine that not going down very well.
But I had to, so I was that mischievous, wanting to be a fireman still, but I've got to fly a desk, and, you know, that sort of, I managed, but I was preferred to be out doing and speaking to people and doing that kind of thing. So actually, albeit I changed jobs, the desk bit I got used to, because I was seeing far more people than I ever would have been a fireman. And my station officer at the time wrote me a lovely letter. He'd left the watch not long after I'd been moved on, and he'd gone to Fire Service College, and he wrote me a lovely letter. And in the letter, he said that he used me to teach other firemen in the country about some of the stuff I'd been doing as a community officer, which was really, really humbling, and I'm proud of the fact that he was doing that. But then he said, the thing is, Mick, I think that your change was a change because of another thing that's not quite like at a spiritual level. And then now where I'm at, looking back, I can actually link that and that's been prevalent on the ocean as well. But I'll talk a bit more about that when we get to that bit. But in this letter, he said, you will teach and speak to far more people and affect far more people doing the job you're doing now than you would have just been on the watch, on Blue Watch, doing your job.
It is hard to see sometimes the reason for the change when it's happening. It's only when you can kind of step back and look back. How did, when you were the coach with Exeter City and the Chiefs, is that like an outreach thing? You saying you're talking about the tots, so they're really young. Is it you going into schools and environments, or would everyone come to the club?
Yeah, well, the tiny tots for Exeter, I think every football club's got them, and it's run by the community department. I sort of work with the community department and the academy.
Okay.
Now I just work at the academy. But the tiny tots is for 3 to 5 year olds, and they basically on a Saturday morning they use a school in the city, and there's a Redchester, and if you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. So there's no pressure on the little ones, and they just come along and they just do a lot of their motor skills and get used to a ball. So it's throwing it, catching it, twisting, turning, jumping, falling, all them things that we used to do that we need to do. But unfortunately, this is eroding a bit because of, these games that we all play, and actually we're not getting out and running like we used to, or playing and stuff. And I think that is definitely a fact, because I can see it even with academy footballers. They move different to how I moved.
Okay.
And Sam, funny enough, Sam came over to Livingston as a troop officer, and he said lads don't fall down and pick themselves up the same as they used to.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was one of my questions, was like, have you seen a big change? And especially maybe now as your job as a mentor, is the difference in not just sort of like, I guess they're like 15, 16, 17, some of the kids you're working with, that not just their physical health, but their mental health has really changed over the last few years as well, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think that was my one of my big drives to doing the Atlantic Roar, was because I'm on my journey myself with my health, and I've done a lot of work before I retired, because I was obviously still coaching as well, part-time and stuff at the football club. So I was doing a lot of my firework and bringing it into, which I still do now. Obviously, just because I retired doesn't mean I'm still not passionate about my firework, because I am. I don't wear that uniform anymore. I was always really focused on physical and mental well-being, because I wasn't very good at it. It wasn't until I had my legs cut off that I realised, actually, I need to do something here, because I'm not managing this as well as what I think I am. And then I think now, and I do a lot of reflection, as you probably both do with your running and stuff, is, how did you run? Why did you not run as well as what you did? And there's all them things going on in your head and stuff. And I think even thinking back, when I had bad runs, it was probably because my mental state wasn't as good as what I thought it was. And my performance wasn't as good as what I thought it was, because I was obviously going through all these different things. So I really was passionate about doing something that allows us then to speak to younger lads, because at the academy we've got them from 8 to under 18s through 3 different phases. So there's the foundation phase, there's the youth phase, 12 to 16, 8 to 12 is the foundation phase, then there's the youth phase, and then there's the professional phase, which is 16 to 18. They're the scholars, but back in our day, Gary, they would be the YTS lads.
Okay, I understand, yeah.
So they now scholars now. That's what they call. They're called scholars, and they employed by the football club for 2-year scholarship. And then at 18, they either get a professional contract or they'll go on to other things. Out of that, lads that have been at our academy, I know a fact, and I'm not sure on the numbers total, but lads that have joined the Royal Marines through meeting me is over double figures.
Oh.
So I haven't been in football, but I've actually then joined the Royal Marines, which I am immensely proud of. But then whenever I say this to lads, I always say it, and I apologise to your mum and dads as well, because they probably think, and oh my God, they think the worst, and actually it's not. It's a brotherhood, and it's a life. It's just life changing.
There's one thing to see a poster on a kind of recruitment office wall or job centre, but to speak to somebody who's actually had experience and to speak so positively about that as a possible career, I think that's so important. Yeah.
And I think they, like I said, when I was saying about listening to the lads firing every fortnight, now that's a month. There's a recruitment drop off because we're not fighting. Now, you don't join up to fight, but you do, if you know what I mean. But since we haven't got any, we have got deployments going on all over the world that we don't know of, and lads are fighting, lads and lasses are fighting. But per se, we're not involved with the Ukraine thing at the minute.
The high profile, yeah, in the media.
So people, they noticed with Afghanistan, Iran, and Iraq that recruitment was good because people were wanting to join up because they wanted to make a difference.
Okay.
And I dare say with what's going on with the conflict over there now, which is absolutely horrendous, I think that we might be seeing a spike in people wanting to join the Royal Marines or the armed forces because they are undervalued and they do a fantastic job. And when everything goes wrong, that's who we call on. I take time to speak to them. If I see lads in the city that I know are recruits, I'll take time to go, not swinging the lamp because I'm not that type, because they're far more fitter and brighter and smarter than I ever was. And I'd say that.
I doubt that, Mickey.
and I'd say that to them because I'm passionate that to say thank you to them because it means so much to them. Whereas they used to, especially over there, they're getting shouted at, they're getting totally rubbish. That's not good enough. This is thing. And then they meet somebody in the city that actually has time to say to them, do you know what? Well done. I'm really proud of what you're trying to do. It's amazing seeing the difference in them. Having our Sam take 2 troops through, I've watched lads change and become these proper young men that have got some values, and some of the values. With my coaching, my Royal Marine and Fire Service background is the thing that is my platform. That's what I teach the lads. Not forget the football for a minute. These are a few things that I teach them. So courage. Have the courage to step forward. Have the courage to put your hand up. Have the courage to run a bit harder.
Yeah.
Have the courage to jump a bit higher. Link to that determination. Be determined to be better. Be determined to be better than you were yesterday, which is what I try and do every day. I fail miserably sometimes, but I do try.
Keep getting up.
Self-discipline, unselfishness, self-discipline, be unselfish, and humility. Just be thoughtful of other people and be cheerful even when things aren't going so well. Yeah. And that's the values that I sort of try and live by, and that's what I try and teach the lads to live by, because I think it gives them a real good chance. I didn't get that until I joined the Royal Marines. They're getting that at 8-year-old, some of these lads, and I constantly reinforcing that. So if I'm seeing someone at 8, by the time I've got to 16, they're getting it. They're getting 8 years of
Mickey.
Yeah. So, but actually, our first team have got, at the minute, we've about 8 lads that have come through our academy. And 7 of them are usually it starts about 6 of them are starting every game for Exeter City.
That's
that have come through our academy.
Yeah.
And each and every one of them, when I've watched them play in the Football League, each and every one of them show some of the values that I've been talking to them about, and it's I suppose that's why I do what I do. When I come back off the road, someone said it was because I struggled to get back, and I've only been back about 2 weeks to the academy. And every time I've come back in the car, I've sort of been reflecting on, I'm still not quite right. I'm still not quite, not quite firing, but have I made a difference tonight? And every time I think, yes, I have.
Is that why you did the Atlantic and 3,000 miles? For that, you would need courage, determination, and make a difference. Is this why you chose?
Yeah, this leads to a whole, so we talked a bit about it, how I am with my mental health and what I was trying to do going forward. I'd always had a thing about the Atlantic Ocean. Cockleshell Endeavour lads were made up of 2 Royal Marines and 2 former Royal Marines that we took the baton from this year. But actually, Cockney Shell Endeavour was a friend who I was put in touch with called Mick Dawson that rode the Atlantic years before and called it Cockle Shell Endeavour. I was put in touch with him. But first, before I'll go back to that, Gary, the Atlantic. So I'd had this in my mind, and one Saturday night, sitting in the front room, and I said to Janie, I'm after a challenge. I'd never mentioned it. And I said, what do you think? She said, well, if it's not going to cost us anything.
She know what to do.
I know what you like. She said, it's not going to cost us anything. Of course you can. I said, but you don't know what I'm going to say. She said, you want to row the Atlantic.
No, my goodness.
Yeah. And I was, wow.
You never literally had this conversation, not even...
Never. So I was like, right, there's a sign there. So then I was like, right, well, how do I go about this for a start? I'd heard about these lads, because Gemma, that got in touch with you, Gary, one of her friends, Junior, is one of these lads that's rowing on this boat, Cockle Shell Endeavour.
Yes.
So I managed to get that link, and they put me in touch with Mick Dawson, who's the lad I was just telling you about that Cockle Shell Endeavour was born out of. And it is about physical and mental health, which was just right up our street. So long and short of it, Royal Marines sticking together, I end up getting put in touch with someone, then I get put in touch with Mick, and then before you know it, we're talking like we're talking now, and Mick says, the hardest thing will be getting on the water, because you've got a lot of pain coming your way with finances and but I can help you out. I can put you in touch with this lad called Chris Martin. And Chris is the lad that did all the organising for us, which was separate to the Talisker race, which is something quite different from what we done. So Cockle Shell Endeavour 2021, stroke 22, because we finished in 22. Yeah. 2021 was born on Saturday night, me talking to Janie. Because my next thing was, right, where do I start? So my mate Brian from home has got funny enough, his engineering place is on the old Shildon Wagon Works.
Okay.
I love that.
Blue Diamond Tools. Got in touch with Brian straight away. Mick, I can't give you everything, but I'll give you $5,000.
And how much did it take to get on the water? What we're looking at is that
right. We're looking at, and this is all rough amounts because we haven't filled it all in yet. We were looking at 30,000 just to get on the water.
Oh my goodness!
But looking at probably about 40.
Okay.
With all the admin and food and all the other kind of things that go with it. So looking at about £40,000. But 5,000 of that already through this is probably, I've said this to Brian, he's the one that's made this happen. Yeah. He's the one that's made this journey because I had so many knockbacks, but I had this $5,000 and he wouldn't take it back. I know he wouldn't. So I had to do it and that's where we've been up to, and it's been, that bit was tough. But Mick said it would always be tough. I didn't realise how tough. Yeah. Bearing in mind, you think of our captive audience being the football club and stuff like that. But we'd gone through COVID and or still going through COVID, so money wasn't. I dread to think what we're trying to do it now with the way things are going with the cost of living and everything. But we managed it. And now we set. We're on the water. The boat's been shipped, and the journey's about to start. In essence, and boy, did it start! so that's a bit on Cockle Shell Endeavour. That's where we've got to. Actually, Mick, at the minute, is back on the water. Mick's rowing with a lad who's blind, who he rowed the Atlantic with. He rowed Atlantic with another Marine called Steve Sparks, who's blind. Okay. As Cockle Shell Endeavour, they are rowing from the top of Scotland down to Portsmouth for the anniversary of the Falklands, and stopping off by kayak. Yeah, and stopping off in different spots to talk to veterans and families and stuff on the way down. Yeah. So he's actually on the water. So Cockle Shell Endeavour, the baton's been passed him, and Mick's got the baton back again, which is brilliant. So we were really proud. So we took the baton from the lads last year. And we've got the baton now, and we've now passed it to Mick, and then hopefully someone will take over and take on the Atlantic again December, January coming.
Yeah.
And it continues to grow. And the physical and mental well-being continues to grow with that. Cockle Shell is not a brand, it's a I suppose it's a way of life, isn't it?
Lots of awareness and raising funds for charities too.
So things that are close to our hearts. So the crew was made up of a strength and conditioning coach from Exeter Chiefs, Dom.
Good. You got the muscles and the brawn.
Yeah, no,
I like that.
I'll talk a bit about this as well, because this was really hard for me. A strength and conditioning coach from the football club academy, James. Another former Royal Marine and fireman from Durham, Ryan.
And the northern, got a bit of northern
and
up there.
myself. So that was our crew, Cockle Shell Endeavour. Age-wise, 25 to near
29. 29.
Yeah. Near to, I'm not, in the 50s somewhat, the oldest member.
You're wearing it well, Mickey.
Yeah, so I'm not so a massive age difference, but a 50-odd-year-old that still thinks he's a 25-year-old Royal.
Yeah.
So that was our crew. So both academies will get something from us, the Exeter Chiefs and the Exeter City. But our charities are the Firefighters Charity, the Royal Marines Charity, the Not Forgotten Association, which I'm part of, and they, if you don't know who they are, they were set up after the First World War. They're the longest armed forces charity there is, and I'm very, 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 very passionate about the Not Forgotten. And Veterans United Against Suicide, which I've got the logo now.
Read what it said
Yeah, yeah. So it's PTSD, Veterans United Against Suicide, and the Go Again Foundation. They are. It's Bob and his team are a group that are coming into the football club to promote physical and mental well-being, and I'm going to be doing some work with them. So them are the people that's going to benefit from what we did. So all very meaningful and worthwhile,
yeah,
and all linked very much to where we all are in where we are on our journeys, I suppose is the one. So on that, we've had a lot of support from other people as well. I must say he's not with us at the minute. Ali, he was our recruitment officer at the football club, and he's just recently left. But his wife is a Virgin staff member, and I flew back from Barbados with Virgin, and I was upgraded to upper class.
Ooh.
Very nice.
You turned left when you went in the plane.
No, you know how much thought they even put into it to save me walking, because I had some really bad open sores on me bum and the backs of my legs. They put me in I'm going to say the spot, but the bed area nearest to how you get on the plane, so I didn't have to walk too far.
See, I was thinking.
So on the plane, there was. I'll have to tell this story, Gary, because I know you're going to come back to something, but this is quite bizarre how this works out. The girls that are on duty, or the lads and lasses, mine were all girls that happened to be on the front of the plane, but she come and asked us if I wanted my bed making, and I said, to be honest, Pet, I said, I'm waking up every 2.5 hours because I'm still in this going on the oars.
Yeah.
Because that's what shift we work, 3 hours. I said, but I've got my wounds packed at the minute, but I'm bleeding, and when I get up, you'll probably see that I'll have blood around my bottom and down my legs. Oh, and she said, oh, well, that's okay. She said, if you want to make it up, just give us a shout, hit the bell, and I'll come and make it up. But if not, if you're still awake, she said, I'd love to hear about your journey. Come and give us a shout, and I'll come and sit with you in the bar. Oh. Like the bit where I'd walked across, I didn't realise on a Virgin plane is the bar for the class people. So anyway, I sit down and I get this brochure from Virgin, and they've got cocktails. Now in the cocktails, in the cocktails on the board, we talked about loads about rum, because Ryan loves rum. He talks about this dark and stormy cocktail. It's a rum-based cocktail. Anyway, the first thing I look at a cocktail in the dark and stormy, isn't it? Where I've just come across the Atlantic and I've been through some pretty horrendous storms. Yeah. And we talked about this, and it's the first thing on the plane. And she says to me, not knowing this, she says, Because I'll make you dark and stormy.
Amazing.
So I'm sitting at the bar, dark and stormy, talking about thing. Next thing, she says, Mick, she said, can I come and give you a cuddle? I said, well, of course you can, pet, no problem. And she got hold of me and she said, thank you so much for what you're trying to do. And I was, wow, what do you mean? She said, because my husband's a firefighter and he's just been diagnosed with PTSD. So I went on to talk to her about things then, and I said, look, PTSD, it's a term, a lot of people don't like the D bit of it, But going back to the Not Forgotten, which was set up in 1918, I think, 1918, just after the First World War finished.
Yeah.
What was it called? You'll know when I tell you. Shell shock.
Shell shock. Yeah.
Shell shock. And what do we do? Never talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't talked about it now because it's the thing we don't talk about. It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the good things, but we don't talk about the bad things that have made a massive difference. Now, I'm just realizing that actually, if I talked about it a bit more, then I probably wouldn't have as much burden as that I've got.
Yeah.
So I'm desperately on this, a bit like we said earlier on, about, if you say about humility, if I can help one person maybe understand that they can get better, or there is people out there that can help, that's where I'm at. But actually, it's the bit that's the hardest thing to do. Because we're still losing people from suicide in Veterans United. So even though we've got all these things out there, people are still giving up their lives.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to join this up, and I've got a sort of an idea. I was talking to Don Armand about this with Don's an Exeter Chiefs rugby player, and gets all this kind of stuff that I'm trying to do. And this was interesting. See what you both think on this. He drew a halo, and he put me in the middle of the halo, and outside of the halo, he put loads of different things. So Veterans United Against Suicide, NHS, Doctor, Exeter City Football Club, Firemen, Royal Marines Charity, Firefighters Charity, and me in the middle. He said, you talk to the Royal Marines, the Firefighters Charity, the Doctor. The triangle never gets linked. Okay. We never make that connection. And I'm like, do you know what, Don? I think I've just had a light bulb moment. You said to me, Gary, Mickey, I'm really struggling. And I go, Gary, that's all right. I'll help you all the way. How do we keep the link? Well, I said, Wayne, Gary's really struggling. And actually it gets stronger. That's the triangle made now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you break the fire triangle, you take one element away, you put the fire out. If you never make the link, the fire doesn't start. But actually, if you make the link, you make the triangle. And if you can't break the triangle, then hopefully the halo in the middle is going to be all right, because you've got all these different people helping him. But actually, if then you link it to another triangle and you make another triangle, you've made it even stronger. And actually, when we drew all the halo with all the triangles that it formed, do you know what? We might just start saving lives. Now, my job is getting everybody to talk to each other.
Is that the ultimate advice, communication, really?
I think so. I mean, that's it. I'm open to anybody to say anything different to me, Gary. And if that, you know, in my simple Geordie head, if that, I can see that, other people might not be able to see it, but actually, I think it's better than not talking.
Because sometimes, personally, I might not maybe say something for fear of saying the wrong thing, and but you think maybe I'd just push through that, and
nothing. I don't think there's a wrong or a right answer with anything, Gary. Like in that, you know, when someone has a loss of, and Ryan had this, bless him, on the Atlantic. His wife Sam's mother died in the northeast while we were on the Atlantic, which was horrendous for her, the family and the friends, but horrendous for Ryan because he's helpless, because he's in the middle of the Atlantic. And, you know, so I said to him, you know, you get all this thing, it's like the elephant in the room. You know, what do you say to someone's at a loss? And can you laugh and can you smile? Yes, you can. And actually, because you're laughing and smiling doesn't mean that you're not sad.
Yeah.
But actually, that laugh and that smile isn't wrong. It isn't wrong. There's no right or wrong. And whatever you say is something's better than nothing, is what I would say, Gary.
Okay.
Something's better than nothing. Because if you don't say anything, how will you ever know? That's just me speaking from the heart. Because I wasn't very good at doing that. Now I'm not saying I'm brilliant at it, but I do try and say, look, don't be afraid to say something or to say you need help, because we can.
Or to just say I'm having a bad day, just having a bad day.
Yeah, just having a bad day.
Yeah, sometimes the minute you say it, you feel better for just having vocalized it. Mickey, can you tell us a little bit about how you came to have the sores on your bum on the aeroplane? Can you tell us a little bit about the journey? Because you set off saying, seen the YouTube clip, you set off saying, we're going to try for the world record, which I think was 30 days, wasn't it? To get across the Atlantic. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey, how that went?
Going for the world record was a thing that I spoke with Mick about, and Mick said, like I said to you about getting sponsorship, if you put that in, it might lead a bit more. People might want to sponsor you a bit more if you try and do what you're doing is massive anyway. But if you go for the world record, then that's
it's a good tagline.
Well, we had this with the previous guest, Tom Garrett. The world record wasn't his goal, but he appreciated that would bring more attention to the challenge.
So that's where we were with that one, Gary and Ed. But actually, when we set off, we were going really well and we were on track for it. I didn't realise that. It's only since I've got back home that people have shown me and told me that we were. Now, that soon became a thing of the past when we were hit by some adverse weather.
Okay.
Because this is my biggest, those waves would be my biggest fear in a small boat.
So they are size of a house plus.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And even when we weren't in big waves, we were in current that we were rowing as hard as we could, and we weren't going half a knot. So we'd gone from doing, we were doing 60 nautical miles, not comfortably, but we were going really quite well.
Yeah.
So then this change in weather where we were doing 3.
Oh.
And how long did that last for? Was this
about a fortnight?
Oh my goodness me.
So our Atlantic record then became a thing of survival, because we were we had food for 55 days.
Okay.
Never thought about this at this stage, because this was early on in the row where we'd hit this thing, and we got later on in the row we got some really bad storms. One particular night was lucky to be alive, really. But in the back of my mind, I didn't say this to anybody, and the lads didn't really make comment to this, but I was like watching the days and where we were and our miles, and I was like, this isn't going to be 40 days, this is going to be 50 plus days. And we were experiencing lots of different things. Talk about cheerfulness in the face of adversity. We had a water maker that was supposed to be giving us 35 litres an hour.
Yeah.
Was every time we got hit a wave or we think it would de-energise, so we'd have to undo it all and refocus it.
Oh.
James was, doing that. So every time we needed water, you had to take pipes off and re-energise it, and it wasn't giving us anywhere near that. We all had 5 litre bottles of water that we were having at the beginning of the journey. 2 of them gave up the ghost, so we were down to 10 litre bottles. So water wasn't being as readily available as what it was.
And is that part of the challenge? You're self-sufficient. You can't.
Yeah. So we had spares for different things, but actually the water maker pipe did break, and we were down to
the water maker. Whenever I've read about the people on the Atlantic challenges, the water maker seems to be the bane of people's lives.
Yeah, but it's crucial, because that's your taking seawater, giving you fresh water. without water, you're hitting the emergency beacon because you're not going anywhere without water.
Yeah.
You know, we had rowing station that broke in the middle of a storm that we had to do, and in the middle of the night with head torches, with massive waves and lightning about us, and all sorts of, you know, holding on to little nuts that if you lost the nut, that was it. That would have been us finished. So lots of different things going on, lots of different pressures. The saws, you constantly. So going back to your question, Edwin, on that one. So if you were doing a 3-hour stint, which we were 3 hours on, 3 hours off. So I'd like to be 15 minutes before I would come on, whether that was in daylight or nighttime. 10 minutes of a night, Ryan would give us a shake, and I'd get myself ready. So I would be on the oars ready to take over for the 3-hour stint. Okay. When you come off, you'd strip off all your gear that you had on, if you had anything on, because sometimes we rode naked, but sometimes you'd strip all your gear off, and then I don't get on with wet wipes. They don't agree with my skin. So I had to use my flannel with what was my leftover water from what I was making me drink with to wipe myself down.
Yeah.
And then talcum powder off and did it. And that was every time you'd done a shift. So you're doing that 4 or 5 shifts in your 24 hours. But in amongst that, you're exposed to this salt and sea. And I spent probably 59 days, I probably spent 40 plus wet. Either goffered from a wave that had come over the side, or just wet weather, storms, just wet all the time. And the lads that did it last year never got wet once.
Oh, stop it!
Yeah, no. Yeah. And we had some. I will plug them because they were fantastic.
We were going to ask you. Yeah, tell us.
We had some barber jackets from the Royal Marines, lightweight barber jackets, and they were incredible. In fact, they were life-saving because they kept us dry in horrendous weather, but they dried out really quick.
Yeah.
But I'll send you. I haven't got them back yet, but they were brand new. When they come back, Gary, I'll send you a picture of what they look like now.
All right.
I'm going to actually write the barber and say how good this product was, because they were just life-saving for us.
It's the ultimate endorsement, isn't it? What they've been through. Yeah.
So the lads. So going back to the seats with the rowing, Edwina. So the lads, so the seat had like a small foam cushion on it, but it was hard seat. The lads, and we had some sponge, and then the lads used to put sheep's wool on top of their seat. I didn't do that. I didn't like the sheep's wool, and I didn't like the sponge, but I did sort of go half with just being on the bed, this little cushion thing, and sponge at times. But all of us had this what they call is pizza bum, where you get spots and these red marks. They're horrendous. And no matter how clean you keep yourself and how much you wash yourself down and talcum powder, you get this. In fact, I've still got it. It's not as bad as it was, but they're still there. And 3 of my wounds are still there, but not weeping now. But basically, the 2 of us had really bad ones. James was worse than mine. We had to have a sat conversation with a doctor, because in the med kit we had some antibiotics, strong antibiotics, and we both had to take antibiotics. Because I had some open wounds on my shins and two open wounds on my foot. So my right foot, I never wore anything on my foot for the whole of the row after about the 5th day. And I was that full of pus and nastiness. If you press the top of my thigh, the pus would come out the bottom of my foot.
Oh my goodness.
And basically come the end of, so we had the antibiotics, there were 3 days worth, and I dried. They did dry me out. My skin dried and the wound started to knit a bit, but it was just like putting a plaster on.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
It's just fighting a losing battle.
Didn't stop it. When I was dressing the wounds, the best thing to do, my finger would go that far, so where your line is on the first part of your finger, it would go that deep into my bum. and
Oh,
I had one on each cheek and two on the crease of the back of my hamstrings where you attach to your glutes. So I had like 4 open wounds. When I finished and I got off my last row that I thought was my last row, is we went off the Atlantic Ocean into the Caribbean Sea, and me and Dom were on the oars then, and we rowed that bit. We did a 4.5 hours opposed to 3, because then Ryan and James were going to row us into Port St Charles, and I got off the oar, and what I'd left on the seat was just vile, and it stunk, and so I washed it all off, and I got into the refuse I was on the front of the bow of the boat, and I got into the refuse and I sobbed.
oh.
I was just in horrendous pain, bit of emotion. That's hopefully the last time I'm going to be on the oars.
Yeah.
But actually in my head, I think if someone had said to us, you got to row again, I probably had 24 to 48 hours before I would have been hospitalised. I would have had to be airlifted off, because I was full of badness, really, and I think I was.
How did you manage all that? Because not only you've got to look after yourself physically, and there's the potential conditions that you're rowing in, but then also you've got to be mindful of your crew members too. And as captain, were you like responsible? Or was it a kind of democracy? People voted.
Everyone was pretty good, but me being me, I was mindful that I was, and you know, unfortunately, this is the way I am. And I used to say this in presentations: if there's a fire behind that door, and it means I go through the door and you come out, and I don't come out, that's how I've lived all the way through to this day. If it meant the boat sank and the lads survived and I went to the bottom of the sea, that's what would have happened.
Yeah.
Likewise, if 3 of them got airlifted and there was only enough room for 3, I would have stayed.
Yeah.
I would have gone down with that our boat, Stanhope. And I must talk about Stanhope as well, because it's really important. That's interesting, Gary, because that linked to, because I'm strong, I feel I'm still reasonably fit and strong. I'm nearer 60 than I am 50. I can do press-ups till they come out of fashion. And I did work really hard, but I was rubbish on the oars like that. I couldn't row and keep that boat in a straight line in the middle of the night. I just didn't have the strength. That became an issue for me. The lads didn't know this, but I did. This became an issue for me because I wasn't the strongest. And I found it really, really difficult, because then my demons started playing tricks with me, and the water started talking to me, and the wolf started talking to me. So all of these different things were small, but they were massive for me, because I'm not the strongest anymore. I'm the weakest. When I said this to our Sam, he said, "But you're not the weakest, Dad. You might have been the weakest on the oars, but what else did you bring?" Brought the lads a hot drink every morning, and I give up some of my sleep to make sure they had a hot drink on their last half an hour on the oars for the whole journey. Actually, I did bring a lot. I just, in my mind, was battling this demon of, you're not the strongest on the oars, so you're the weakest. Well, now looking back, actually, we all brought something, and we were all very different. And whatever we did, we were doing it together, and we did do it together. But Gary, if it come to a decision, then it had to fall on my shoulders. So the burden's quite hard, really, because I
imagine it's just a constant. There's no rest from it. This physical and mental pressure.
And they messed up with the medication as well. So I didn't have any painkillers, and I didn't have any medication for my night terrors for the whole trip. So I was even in a worse position, because I had all these other things going on without anything to lessen the feeling of pain, which is what the medication does. And I call them my happy pills to keep my scales on equal balance. So I was heavily weighted down as opposed to being equal.
Yeah.
So it was really, really, really quite tough for us. But it was tough for all of us in our own different ways. And looking back, I would go, but actually, I gave it my best. And that's all I could do. No, I wasn't the best on the oars, but I still kept going forward and back.
But the morale and then that observation that, you know, hot brew, that would lift me up big time. You made any cup of tea, she jumped through hoops for you.
Yeah. So I think there's, you know, but that's something that I'd never thought about that. I never thought about my age or, you know, and then I think now looking back, 25, what was I like at 25?
Yeah.
I was pretty invincible at 25. And I'm not saying I'm not invincible now, but you do lose a bit of that strength naturally, don't you? And that's
but
just
you bring that strength in another way, and I think possibly that's the change of journey now, is that learning that strength doesn't have to be physical and what you can see and what the numbers say. There's that's a very small part of any physical journey, really. And what you brought to that journey was the sort of rainbow of all of that. Yes. And I'm sure if we spoke to those guys I rode with, and they'd be like, we wouldn't have done it without Mickey because he held us all together.
Yeah. So that was a bit tough for us, that little bit. But it's only me that's my, you know, I haven't spoke to the lads about this because, you know, it was my battle. I had to fight that battle. You know, I went on the ocean to fight my wolf. You know, my demon, or whatever you want to call him. I call him my wolf. And I ironically, I thought I would beat him.
Yeah,
I guess you thought he's not going to come with you. Why would he come with me?
I did think, Ed, that he was come with us and he would fight me on there, but I thought it was on my terms. It was in my ocean.
Yeah.
It was on our vessel, and I was going to take him on. And I think naively, which now we've talked for a little bit, I was never going to win that because he's never going to go, is he? He's never going to go. Like when we talked about Scooby earlier on, how naive must I have been to think I was going to come back changed and mended and have this thing sorted in my head? I was never going to. Yeah. But actually what he did was he'd manifest himself in a storm. He'd manifest him with him saying to me, you're the weakest on this boat. Yeah. So actually, did he beat me? No, he didn't, because I finished it. But I didn't finish it. Like I said before, the finish was just the journey start, because this is now the bit where he won't win, because I'm still able to say, yes, I was the weakest, but I'm also the strongest, because I'm still here, and I'm still going to make a difference to the man up the road, the lady round the corner, the people in the village that have been, the support we had was just amazing. You know, so actually I did win a little bit, and I think I still am winning. But he's there, and he's always there. I've just got to be canny when he's, you know. Now I don't think I'm taking my mate as another Geordie lad for training down around the corner. He wants to, so I'm taking them, and I was out on my own last night, and I'm getting back to where I was before we left, and actually I'm feeling a bit more like the Mick before we went. So I have won the battle a little bit.
And he's never going to leave you. And I think probably now that's a huge part of your journey, is realizing that you and the wolf are perhaps tied together forever. And it's just the relationship, how that relationship evolves. And sure, lots of people listening that have done huge physical endeavors, huge lows, those huge lows that you can't explain to people that have never done stuff like that, and the huge highs, you come out as a different person almost. And actually it ends not being about the endeavor at all. It's about the person that comes out. It's like almost shedding a skin, and you come out as a different, and also the bit post that endeavor, you're still not there. You got another, you almost have to come through it, and it's a horrible post come down that you can't explain to people.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I like to say, and I struggled because I still am, because I haven't really thought much about the row, as I said before we started, and it wasn't, when I got home, I wasn't not going out and seeing people, but I didn't want to go back to football coaching, because I didn't want everybody saying, "Oh, well done, tell us about it," because I hadn't really thought about it myself. Whereas now, I'm a bit more comfortable in my skin saying, "Yeah, it was this and it was that," and actually, the finish was just the start, and actually, someone's asked the question. It might be a question you're going to ask us, and Don said this: would you do it again?
That's our next question.
and we talked about this when we were having that conversation about the halo and everything. And my first response wasn't the same response I'm going to give you now, but this is the response: no. Why would I want to do that again when, like I've just said, the journey never finished. It just started. I can't say I would do it again because I haven't finished this one.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
The difference is I'm just not on the sea.
And what is the next phase of this journey then? We mentioned before we started recording.
Yeah. I think for me is keep doing what I'm doing at the football club. But to capture more audience. So if we can get the Go Again working across different football clubs across the country, and I can go and talk to people in different football clubs, or the apprentices, or the scholars of different football clubs, and share this journey that we've talked about now, and that empowers them to not feel down about themselves, even though they might be feeling they're the weakest.
Yeah.
But actually, their weakness might be actually that they're the strongest.
Yeah.
But in that point in time, it's just the wolf saying you're the weakest. You're not actually the weakest.
You never know who's watching. You know, I know our audience is ultra runners and trail runners, but you never know who's watching. Your story will definitely resonate with people, and if it helps somebody out, then we've done a good thing today, I think.
That's where I see for me the going forward, and then hopefully, you know, if the baton gets carried on next year, the lads or lasses that do it, I can say to them, look, you know, their journey will be their journey, but I would not let them fall on a sword and some of the things that we didn't get right. I want to give them that knowledge and that, because I think I've never been one for, you know, knowledge is power, isn't it? And there's a lot of people that go, well, if I keep that to myself, it'll make him look not so, you know, I don't like people to fall on the sword. When if I was ever had a probationary fireman come and join the watch, I would give him all the tools that I had and not have to go through, you know, being ridiculed because you got it wrong. Someone could have said, don't do it that way, do it this way. Because actually, if we do that, we make someone really quite strong. And then if they do it to somebody else, then we're going to be stronger, aren't we? Where that's what we want to be. Which goes back to what I was saying about, and you both disagree with it, when I said about the Royal Marines now being fitter, smarter and brighter than I ever was. It is a testament to the Royal Marines training and the way life is. Their weapon systems are different. Their tactics are different. Yes, they have to do the same as I did to get a green beret. I get that. And that bit has to be what you're judged on and where you have to achieve. But actually all the other things, if we keep building on things that we learn from, you're putting yourself as an organisation or as a group somewhere really strong, aren't you?
I never understand why people keep things back. I'm not too sure what the motivation is there. It's so much more important to share it. Everybody rises together, I see.
Insecurity, isn't it? Security normally.
I hope people just like you say, Gary, we might resonate with people with them doubts. You know, when you're running and sometimes your legs, you know what it's like, your legs fall off and you're like, whoa, why that? Come on, move, and they're not moving, and you're like,
that's every day for me. Every day.
But there's, you know, you're still doing it.
Yeah.
You said, Gary, you know, my biggest thing is if I can swing my legs out of bed every morning and I put one foot on the floor and then I take a step I'm moving forward, not backwards.
Yeah, it's
I'm
got
not-
to keep showing up.
Aye. And
It's
that's
like making your bed. When I tell the kids every morning, you make your bed before you go anywhere, because that's the start of the day. And if you start your day with folding your pajamas and making your bed, the rest of the day will follow the same pattern. If you don't take that minute,
you're going to laugh now. Do you know that's one of my things with the footballers about making their bed?
Good advice.
I have got a big thing with this, and I'm going to give you. I'll tell you about it when you can have a watch later.
is it the man cooking at the university?
Admiral Raven,
Yeah.
former SEAL. Yeah. Well,
I've made my kids watch that while they're having a tea.
I didn't know about Admiral Raven because I'd not seen this, but for years, I've told our lads at the football club that the first thing they do is make their bed. And I've told them all to watch Admiral Raven. And ironically, when Sam knew I used to do this, he said have you never seen Admiral Raven's thing, Dad? Because he had to write an essay on him when he was over in training. And it's just them things it's so true. If you make your own, I do it. I even do it in a hotel room. I know the girls come and make it different to what I do, but in my mind, I've made my bed.
Yeah.
So all right, not to the standard of housekeeping, but I'm still doing what I do. So yeah, I think that's really important, and I think even to the lads now. Last week, I've said to them, and I was really surprised at this, how many of them actually say good morning to their siblings or the mums and dads when they come downstairs. And out of a group of 14, it was less than half.
Oh,
and I found that really, and then when I nailed it down and I talk about detail, because I talk about detail a lot, how many actually said good morning, not just morning.
Yeah. From
now on, that group have to say good morning. Not just morning. There's nothing morning about it. It's good morning. And I get loads of things come back from the parents. Mickey, how have you done that? You know, the beds. I've been trying for 3 years. You tell them once and they make the bed. That's the power of what I try and do, I suppose. But, you know, I said it's given them it's them to take ownership of it, isn't it? If you sow the seed and then keep reinforcing it, actually, when they crawl into the bed that night and they feel so much better because they've made it, then actually that's a no-brainer. They'll keep doing that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
If you say good morning to somebody because Mickey's in your head going, it's not good morning, it's good morning, then that changes. But then if you said to them, you know, when they get brought to training, I make sure that whoever's brought them, they say thank you.
Thank you. I do exactly.
I mean it. Not just thank you because I've told you to say it.
You slam the door.
Yeah.
Like you stop, you make eye contact, and you say, "Thank you for bringing me."
See.
I also, if I'm greeting somebody,
I may be married to a military man. You see.
That could be it. That could be it, Ed.
If I'm greeting somebody, if I'm mindful, I always try and say, instead of going, "Are you all right?" Because I'm almost asking them if they're all right. I don't want to know about the negative or if they're feeling a bit down. Instead, I'll ask them, "How are you?" And then maybe that will kind of instigate some dialogue. But yeah, sometimes when I just go, "All right," I feel all I want to know is if they're good or not.
Yeah. I like that guy. How are you? I do think that's a really. There's a bit of it has a lot of humility to that.
Yeah, and then leaving a pause and not being scared to have the quiet of like letting the person think about their response or not responding is very good to listen. I learned that with the kids, like let the quiet be. You don't have to fill the silence. You can just be like when I pick them up from school or whatever, and I'm like, how was your day? And often they just don't want, they want the quiet. And then you let the quiet be. And then normally when I've given them food, they'll come round. And but you learn so much from kids, from having kids.
Definitely. But they are our future, so why wouldn't we invest in them to be a better version of,
much better version than me. It's not hard.
Make up from the mistakes that we've done. Which goes back to what I said, isn't it? About just empowering someone and not letting them fall in the sword. We've all got to make mistakes. I get that. But actually, you learn from mistakes, so you don't let somebody else have the same mistakes.
No.
No, they can go and do their own thing. We've used up loads of your time, but we've just got a few more questions that we like to ask that are fun questions that we really chuckled making because like Gary likes to ask them.
Okay, first one. You're on the water. What do you look forward to most? A nice sunrise or a nice sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset. We got it wrong.
I love the sunset. Do you know why? Why I say that? Because I didn't see the sunrise. I was on the oars when it was sunset.
See.
See. So I couldn't say sunrise because I didn't ever see it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Did you have a favourite treat at sea? Did you smuggle on anything?
Tea.
Wait. What sort of tea did you have?
There was two tea. There was Thai food tea, and there was that morning tea that you get.
Oh, a Twinings morning tea.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Yeah, I like that, and I kept my tea bag as well. And even when sometimes I just put hot water in it and just I'm about to
modify my next question. You're back in the northeast. Newcastle aren't at home, but you can have a ticket to go and see Sunderland and Middlesbrough. Who would it be?
None of them.
Play some golf. Go play some golf with Simon.
I'd have to go. I suppose because I was telling you about Brian and Blue Diamond that gave us the first sponsorship. Yeah. Brian, bless him, used to be chairman of Shildon FC.
Ah, right.
So it would have to be Shildon. And only with Shildon because they are really supportive of Veterans United Against Suicide and they've been supportive about our row. David Dent, who's the chairman now, bless him, is all about the community.
Yeah.
And I'm going to actually be doing some work with Shildon and their young footballers. So I would say Shildon. But if you did have to go between the two, I'd say Sunderland, sort of go and watch them get beat.
Oh, it's getting even worse. You always have a lot of... But Shildon, though, I'd say Shildon, that's a Sunderland area, really.
I know, where they mix, they half black and white and half red and white.
That's only after Kevin Keegan. We'll get into football here. They're only black and white after Kevin Keegan's glory years. They were all Sunderland before then. Moving on. You're on the water again.
Yeah.
Somebody famous to share the 3,000 miles with? Anyone you'd like?
Oh, yeah, bless him. He's not here anymore. So Bobby Robson.
Oh, what a choice. You'd have good chat. He'd be really strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bobby.
Still got on the football theme. Can you remember your keepy up record?
Yeah, I'm shocking. I'm absolutely shocking.
What were you in
singles? What was your football position? Were you like a midfielder?
Yeah, central midfield.
I
knew it.
Yeah, just tenacious. I wasn't the most technical of players.
But physically, you could take ball on.
Yeah, I was I was that fly that you just couldn't get rid of.
Like a Dennis Wise or a kind of player.
I was double figures, but nowhere near what the lads that do that nowadays.
Aren't they in like the thousands?
Yeah. I mean,
I was listening to a podcast where it's like 1,500 or something. We're like,
yeah, they can just keep going. But what I would say, Gary, the balls are different to them keep your balls that I was I did say technically I wasn't the best, so I'm getting out with that one.
And last question, most importantly, actually, can people still donate? And if they can, where do we send them?
Yeah, I'm going to, if it's all right, I'll send you the link when we come up because it's I think we can still do it via our Instagram page.
Yeah.
which would be really good if people can and still do want to. But there's a couple of things on there, Gary. I think I sent you an email about it. We had some Cockleshell Endeavour t-shirts.
Oh, you got merch, yeah.
Yeah, and they've got
Merch.
yeah, and they're really good. They've got and they won off, but the lads that have done them for us are all former Royal Navy or Royal Marine people. They give us 15%, and I'll send you the links, because if you put Team Cockleshell, I think
Is that your Instagram, Cockleshell Endeavour
2021? Have you got it, Ed?
Got you right there.
It's so the on there. There's the Super 7 coffee. Give you 10%, and their coffees for athletes.
Oh, okay, interesting.
One of these enhanced coffees.
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture of it, and again, they give 10% if you put on when you come out Cockleshell Endeavour. I know.
Got to head over to YouTube, listeners.
Do I look older, don't I?
Hardly.
Yeah, if you forward all the different various chords, and I'll put them in the description of the podcast.
And then, last but not least, I've got to promote this one, because Devon Rum.
Oh.
When I talked about dark and stormy, Devon Rum kindly give us all rum, and we did I took some rum with us for our New Year. So we had a tot on New Year from Devon Rum.
Does rum vary? My experience is by my dad. My dad was in the Navy, so I used to have to buy him a bottle of Captain Morgan's rum, and it wasn't very nice. But is some rum actually really nice? Really nice.
Yeah, really nice. There's that dark and stormy. Ryan's a bit of a rum connoisseur, and if you do a proper one, it's a Venezuelan rum. But Devon rum, I quite like me rum, but I was brought up on Navy rum, which is bloody. Not very nice. This is really quite tasty. Yeah. But what it will be good is if some of your listeners and viewers want to try a dark and stormy cocktail, and if you remember just to raise a glass, and for what I used to say is the three things: united we conquer, absent friends.
Absent friends.
I'm right.
You know, that's what I do every time, because you know, like we're saying about us getting stronger as we get older and our young'uns become better.
Yeah.
Them three words, united we conquer, encapsulate all that. And you know, the commando over earlier at Spain Bridge, you know, with the three commandos, that's what's written on the bottom of it. Is really powerful, and was on our boat as well in one of the cabins, united we conquer. So I looked onto it most for the whole journey. Or if you were in that cabin, you come out, you looked onto it as well. So everybody, you know, even when you had a bit of a down bit, you look at them words. Yeah. You know.
It's important stuff like that.
Even if we're going backwards, we're still going forward, because you're rolling forward.
Yeah.
You know, the storm was going to end at some point. Albeit it lasted too long at times. But just on that last bit, when we the last 1,000 miles, which was incredible, when you think what I was telling you, when we went from 60 nautical miles down to 3, for the last 1,000 miles, for every 3 hours we rode, we went 6 nautical miles, over 6 nautical miles. Oh. Which was incredible. When you think what was, you know, it was a year, you know, whether it was just a massive effort when you were probably battle weary.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we were down to minimum food, because we only had food for 55 days. So we were running out of food, or ran out of food. We were just living off what we'd squirreled from behind. Yeah. So we dropped our calorie intake, which, like I was saying, that's probably didn't help the infections, because you just
mental state as well, without fueling your brain does.
Oh, you battle weary, and what I didn't say was I had luckily I had a beard, because my lips were starting to get eaten away, and every time I had something to eat or drink, my mouth would bleed, and my lips were literally disappearing. Oh, and when we finished, Hannah and Janie, my wife, and Elliot, they'd got some burger and chips and cakes and drinks and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't eat it. I couldn't open my mouth. Chris couldn't go. Nick was his 2IC, was in charge, and a chap called Tony Trulin, who was a former lieutenant colonel that lives in Barbados, bless him, had seen what state I was in, because I wasn't far off being hospitalised.
Okay.
Went home and made some asparagus soup.
Yeah.
And went to the chemist and got me I've not even seen this drink since, but it was like it wasn't like a Lucozade, it was a replenishment. I can't even remember what it was called, but just a sip of it. And then Jenny said, I just started to get some life back into my eyes. My eyes were, in her words, I was delirious. I'd say I wasn't far off needing a drip to get me back functioning. Yeah.
Mickey, yeah.
Rest up now, Mickey. Have some tea. Thank you so much for sharing. What a journey. We could carry on.
Yeah, we could do 2 hours easy to do.
Yeah, no, it's been.
But Gus, you've opened my mind to all sorts of other different thoughts and ideas, and how brave of you to share that with us, complete strangers. Just come onto a Zoom call and share that with. So we are truly humbled and grateful for you for doing that. And I have no doubt that in the ultra running community, where lots of people are running from demons or with demons a lot, that somebody will be listening to this as they're running along. And
very common in our community.
Is it? Yeah. I mean,
recognize those thoughts, and you will be with them, and your words will echo. And if you are running along and listening to this and feeling any of those thoughts, or perhaps you know somebody who is, do as Mickey says and reach out and make your triangle and say, I don't feel quite right. And Gary and I are always here for you on Facebook.
And, and there's always somebody that is out there, and that's what you've got to remember. No matter how low you might feel and how vulnerable and weak, like I've told you that I was in the Atlantic, there is always somebody that will go that extra mile. And there's plenty out there like me that would give up their life to save you. And that's, my wife Janie used to hate me for this, because she knew that that's what I would be like. So every time I went out on shift, she knew that if worse comes to worse, that I wouldn't be coming back through them doors, because that's just, if I wasn't going to do it, who was going to do it?
Yeah.
And there's always somebody out there that will be able to help. So don't ever, everyone that's listening, or think there's always somebody, and no matter where you are and what you think, there is. So just like you say, like Ed's just said there, just reach out. And it might be just that total stranger. Say, I've just met Gary and Edwina now, and it's like I've known you for years, because I feel so comfortable in talking to you, which I must thank you for that, because
no, I appreciate you saying that.
I might come across as that I'm okay, but actually it's took a whole lot of courage to actually say some of the things I've been talking about there.
And it does, it's such a weird environment on a 3
so
people.
I can't give you a hug.
Yeah, thank you. I'm back at you, because it's massive.
You truly are. We hear it banded around quite a lot, people heroes. But you are truly a real life hero, Mickey, and it's been a pleasure to spend the past hour and a half chatting away with you.
Brilliant. And to you both.
I enjoyed that, Eddie. Another northerner. I didn't know he was a northerner when I first.
What else? You're an absolute. We can only talk to people going above Wingate.
But it was interesting, he hadn't really fully processed it, but it's not over. He's still on this journey, and reach out and show his sponsors some love, people, if you fancy some coffee and some Devon rum. I think my dad's going to get a treat, a little shift away from his normal lamb navy rum. Going to pimp him up with some Devon.
I'll be like, what is this one? You're like,
what is this? I don't want to. Where's me?
Thank you, Mickey. Gosh, looking at life through Mickey's eyes was really incredible, and thinking about the way that what he's done in his life, and also his continued role with mentoring younger people. Some great life lessons there about how we what we teach our kids, what we show our kids, but also for ourselves as runners as well, that grit, that determination, that showing up every day, setting standards for ourselves, which is very funny because the minute I let that slip the last like 10 days and I've like exactly how I don't like to handle myself. And I'm back on the straight and narrow following Mickey's guidelines about finding a way. There's always a way. And I hope he's continued with recovering now. And he enjoys hearing himself chat. So thanks, Mickey.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I hope our listeners, that's twice now we've had non-running content, but I just think the stories are good and it's worth sharing.
The story's so good. And the stuff that he said, I've still got my crib sheet of what he said to me that I get out sometimes about, courage, determination, self-discipline, humility.
Being united.
United we conquer. Say that to the kids. United we conquer, kids. If everyone puts their plates in the dishwasher, not just mum, we're winning. Not sure that's all good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the chat. Coming up this weekend, we've got the Centurion 100 track race. There's some big names coming over. The Bedford International Arena. I'm not sure on COVID restrictions, like people can go and watch, but go and check out on the Centurion webpage and it will say, I know we've got Camille Heronova, Alexander Korokovkin, can't say his name. There's going to be some fast as well as local legends, a who's who of ultra running, of track 24-hour running are going to be there, putting down some fast times. So it'll be really exciting. There'll be a live tracker up on that. And
they do a good job too, don't they? Keeping you updated on social media.
James and no doubt Dan as well over there, following it live. Hope the weather's kind, not too hot, not too cold, not too breezy. Weather's always nice in Bedford, isn't it? So we look forward to seeing those results next week.
And I've got I haven't got, it's not me doing it, but I'm reading out the Highland Fling all the way up in Scotland. I love the finish to this. Have you seen the pictures? It's such a great finish when they go down
I know the finish very well. With the carpet, I ran it. I didn't finish. I ran really well for the first 26 miles, and I pinged my hamstring coming off Conic Hill. To be fair, I went into it with a bit of a hamstring, slight grumble, and I ran an excellent first 4 hours. Classic. And then I couldn't walk, and the physio got his elbow into my hamstring, and then I was like, it's fine, and I tried to run out of the checkpoint, and he actually stopped me and went, no, that's serious, you can't. And like he ran after me and pulled me back and was like, you can't carry on. I got unfinished business with that fling, but I love the first bit, of course. And then so Debs was crewing me and she was giving out the prizes, and then I had to go and stand at the finish like a little broken old lady, but I didn't mind. So it was great to see everyone finish. But who've we got running? What we know, a few people.
Joe Mate, last week's guest. So if you haven't already listened to last week, go back and check it out. And it looks like when we spoke to Jo, she was recovering from COVID, and I think it's hard to know exactly if there's any underlying long issues, but she seems fine and ready to go, so that's good. And we've also got Nicola Dawson, who's been on the show too, friend of the show, and she does the Epic Trails up in Scotland. That's so check out that Facebook group. Best of luck to those two and everybody else towing the line. What's coming up, Eddie? Dare I ask?
So I've got a few more days. So I'm on Swift, my Swift regime until Friday, and then I'm going to see how it is. It doesn't really hurt to walk at the moment, so I'm hoping by Friday, if I can incorporate some hiking with my pack, then I will put that in. Otherwise, I would just stay on Swift for another week and pray to the Swift gods that is helping a little bit of my fitness. Kids are on holiday anyway, so I don't have much freedom to get out and about. But the weather's beautiful here. The ski resort is shutting down. Morzine is quiet. The roads are quiet. They've gone. Those people that come in and treat this place like some sort of holiday centre have gone. And how dare they come and have a lovely ski holiday, get in my way in Cafor. So it's lovely and quiet, which is it's lovely. The bus has stopped running up our road, which is
how fast the snow went.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how fast it goes. Once it's the nighttime temperatures, once they rise, the snow goes. But also once they stop peasting and bashing on the tracks, it goes as well, which is great. So once I'm free from the shackles of Swift, I'm pretty much can get around a lot of my lower trails, which is really exciting. So I will remain positive as I always am, Gary. No whining around here. What about you?
Just more of the same. It's my
Another
son's birthday.
70-mile week, 10,000 feet climbing.
Well, I've done. Yeah, I did 7,000 feet yesterday, so I reckon I'll get me 10,000 for the week.
God, you will.
I'm off the lakes on Friday, but no running. It's George's birthday on Monday, my son's birthday. So we go. Obviously, they're back to school in England, so we're going to go on Friday over to the lakes for a day. So yeah, it'll be quite weird for me.
Is that his choice of birthday treat, or is that your choice of birthday
Lisa
treat?
picked it. There's some animal sanctuary.
He loves animals.
Bassenthwaite area, but I'm going to be looking at all these hills going, I want to go up there, but no, I've got to be in my civvies for the day, no trainers. And I think on Sunday, it's Trail Outlaws 10K trail race. I've not had confirmation, but I think I'm supposed to be going kind of filming it from they want me to film it, and then it goes on their social media as like a promotional,
like a content creator.
It's actually like a proper job, which is quite amazing. And I think that's about it for me.
We've got a competition running on Facebook up to the 3rd of May.
It's been a good one, hasn't it?
Yeah, good one. I haven't had time to scroll through everybody's yet. I always think when I get on Swift, I'll, spend the warm up looking at my phone, but I just cannot. Yeah. There's just no way. The minute that grey turns to blue on Swift, I'm out of it. I'm like, no, it's too sweaty. If I can't. But I'm looking forward to going through. I saw a few people. Yeah, I saw a few lovely pictures come up. Spring pictures. That's what we're looking for. Spring running pictures over the bank holiday weekend. Some blue. I mean, I don't need to tell you what needs to go into this to please Gary and I. Really, do I? Keep them coming in if you took some lovely, or if you still got this weekend. If you're out and about on the trails, daffodils, lambs, bit of product placement will never go amiss in there. And the competition closes on 3rd of May, and there'll be 2 winners.
That was episode 86. Thank you to Chia Charge for continuing to support the show, sending bars to guests, competition winners, keeping Eddie.
Oh, whoopsie! You even read that.
Oh. That was episode 86. Thanks to Chia Charge for continuing to support the show, sending bars to guests, competition winners, keeping Eddie and I fueled in our adventures, and generally being an all-round super supporter to everyone out on the trails. My name's Gary Thwaites.
I'm Eddie Sutton.
And let's run to the hills.